we're coming down onto the beach here in Salt Spring. I can see the ocean out in front and some Garry Oaks and things, but there's some Douglas firs out here as well, growing out. So tell me about that. Why are there Douglas firs and oaks together?
Well, we're in the coastal Douglas fir ecosystem here, and fir is native here as well as the oaks. But what's happened in the past is that First Nations people maintained large oak forests by burning.
Oh, okay.
And so the fir is much more susceptible to fire than the oaks are, because the oaks have very thick, corky bark. And so if a fire goes through, it'll kill the firs, but not the oaks. And so when the First Nations burned, they took out the shrubs and the young fir and left these open meadows. And what they were doing was trying to grow camas, which is a native plant, and they ate the bulbs.
So this was a garden? This was a native garden?
This was like a native garden, yes. And so what's happened with suppression of fire is that these firs have been allowed to move into the Garry Oak meadows, and as you can see, they're starting to crowd out the foliage on the Garry Oaks, which makes it much harder for the oaks to grow. So that's one of the issues in Garry Oak ecosystem management, is to try to keep the firs from encroaching into the Garry Oak meadows.
Right. And the Garry Oak is very rare, isn't it? It's only found out here on our coast in a few little patches.
Yes, it's quite rare. It's one of the most imperiled ecosystems here in British Columbia.
Yeah.
And we happen to be standing in an area that has one of the biggest Garry Oak ecosystems that's being protected.
This is one of the biggest?
Yes.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's,
yeah, there's a massive one over there. That's an ancient one, isn't it?
That's a very ancient one. It's probably 300 or 400 years old.
Wow.